Yeah, it did that much faster.
Good.
Okay. Hello, hello. Um, Pop out the chat. Old school Dave, second time's a charm. Yes, it is.
What happened the first time?
Yeah, we don't know what happened the first time. All we
I
know is
could.
that
I'll look at it and
I
delete
was
it.
broadcasting. I thought I was broadcasting, and I spoke for almost an hour before.
No, it wasn't that
It wasn't that
long.
long,
No.
which reminds me of some
Yeah, it
previous
was.
times.
Yeah.
But this time, I don't know. Hi, Finch. Greetings. It's acting weird though. The stream, it's like got this blink in it, like you used to
That's
have.
all. It's always. That's been there.
Yeah,
It's
but it's
always.
more pronounced right
Is
now.
it?
Yeah. So I'm gonna share this with my Facebook friends or anybody who picks it up before I start talking. Um, yeah, and I noticed the other day that a number of people um, weren't able to comment on their sites that they follow.
Okay. Hello, Finch. Hello, Jeff. Hello, Old School Dave.
Hello, yeah. What was the first person again?
Jeff
Jeff, right, right. Hi, Jeff.
and Finch.
Yeah, I already said hello to Finch, so.
And then Nicholas wants to know why you weren't part of the away team. How
Um,
rude. No, I'm just kidding.
no, it's okay. It's
That's what he's here for, to answer questions.
yeah, that's part of it.
Sorry, I should be saying stupid stuff in the back.
Oh, because I didn't make the grade. I didn't make the grade. That's the bottom line. So let's see. What's next? Oh, yeah, I've got to put this in my comment. That's right. Okay, we've got it. Good old Facebook. Okay, folks. Well, I titled this Next Level Earth Lab Prophecy and False Prophecy as two subjects. When the Next Level Earth Lab part um, comes from uh, the audio tape that T and Do made in 1985 that Kathy and I had listened to. Me for probably the second time, but it's been a long time since I listened to it, and Kathy probably for the third time or more that she's listened to it, because that's the way it works a lot of times. Uh, and Kathy's here. Um,
Yeah, I just said hi to a bunch of people.
Yeah, right. But if anybody just comes in here and
I see.
yeah, so she's gonna I'm gonna depend on her to help me remember some of the things, even though I have my notes on the tape that were so interesting. As I can honestly say that every T&Do tape or document or video that T&Do made or Do made and students made is jam packed with all kinds of perspectives, consciousness, awarenesses, um, understandings, concepts to think about, and responses to events like which I've repeated quite a bit in most every live stream. I kind of take that position or try to portray that position um, in what I say. Uh, and because and so when I see it in an audio tape, and I was sitting there, yes, I got a lot from that, but with T&Do, every time you listen to their material, if you've been somebody that has been eager to grow and change and examine both sides of the coin of issues, which Doe talked about in this tape, uh, in relationship to something else, but in general, to could apply to anything information wise or about events. And there's frequently one or more there's two sides to the coin, by that analogy, regardless of whether there's more sides. I mean, because these days, there's all kinds of crazy things. I say crazy, and look at me. I'm considered to be crazy, so take it with a grain of salt, the use of that word. But what I mean by crazy is
You didn't pop the chat out.
yeah, I did actually. Oh, you know what? Maybe I didn't do it the second time. There it is. The Lost Hour. I bet you were on fire. I don't think I probably was, but on fire for the. I lost that last hour of the last live stream. But Nicholas Fumeri says, "Why weren't you part of the?" Oh, I see. I already got that one, so I'll just skip there. Sorry if that was a delicate question. Thank you for responding. No, it's not. It's not delicate. I mean, it is delicate to some degree because it's not like something I'm proud of, And I mean, but the next level, they don't have negativity in the next level. I got reminded of that in the audio tape 201 that Kathy and I were listening to today, and and it was a really cool perspective. I say cool, but just because it's, I believe, as real as we're gonna get, pretty much. I mean, uh, uh, from the mouth of T, talking about the human kingdom in relationship to diseases, all kinds of events, and that we humans, our vehicles, are plants, right? And but we're not like plants that are insignificant unless we're not demonstrating wanting to improve and grow in ways to have more goodness in us. And they use that expression, goodness, a number of times in tape 201 as the goal for every human, regardless of what terminology they use when they are seeking help for their problems and things. And So, like T was talking about how these vehicles need a certain amount of minerals and vitamins, and I hadn't had that kind of direct evidence of T talking about that in my computer, my brain. Uh, Even though I knew T put a lot of things when T and Doe were working together for the first 10 years or more than that actually, more like 12 or 13 years, 12 and a half years, whatever. But um, and which I was part of for about 10 years. We had different, dietary programs, okay? And it didn't start off that way. It started off with just them giving us money and telling us to go to town as partnerships uh, and go to the grocery store and spend our money on what we want, the food that we want. And that would, hoping that would last for a week and, not get things that were going to spoil too fast and stuff because we were living outdoors in tents anyway with no facilities. Anyway, uh, so at first they didn't put any effort that I saw into concerns of what you put into your mouth and what you don't. In terms of the health of the vehicle, that's the main function of things of food, which they referred to later years as fuel. And and what he was talking about in this tape 201 uh, was how she said that you could just about eat mud um, if it had the nutrients in it that well no
No.
if your frequency or your can you remember the words that you used
If you
if
had
you had
good
positivity
if you had good nutrition and for the most part,
right
yeah.
good nutrition and positive ions energy light that's all what I think those are kind of synonymous terms to describe next level mind. You know, so but next level goodness is part of that. In other words, some examples would be um, seeing somebody do something or hearing somebody do something, and uh, um, uh, being uh, telling them what they did wrong, or that they were not right, or they did wrong, by somebody else, and I'm not saying there's not times when somebody might need to hear that, but uh, some people have more of a tendency of occupying their minds with what everybody else should be doing differently, or towards certain types of people or certain party affiliations in the government, or and how we should live or how they should live or the morality that they have or the lack of morality that they have or the, the religions that they choose to believe in uh, and their uh, the choices people are making and their status in society and there's all these different ways of thinking that some people become so preoccupied with their own success and people looking up to them that they believe it. They believe that they are needed for the job and they even have a divine, call it what you want. They may call it the universal mind, they may call it the cosmic consciousness, you know, they may call it God, they may call it Jesus, they may call it, whatever they want to call it. um, believing that they have a role to play, and that and so I'm getting off the track a little bit, but I'm trying to depict some of the examples that I believe would be real that T and O were talking about in relationship to the classroom's behavior and ways, um, that wasn't meant for humans at that time and may not be even meant. I don't mean to talk about humans like I'm not, because I certainly have a human vehicle. But um,
That's just the terminology they use
yeah,
sometimes.
that's just the terminology they use to differentiate the individuals that were in their little experiment, their special circumstance of being able to actually graduate their soul bodies. You know, that I know that's a spiritual term, and I don't like to use it for that reason, but uh, those terms did have some origin, a lot of origin with Next Level Mind that was given thousands of years ago to people all over the planet. So anyway, so it's the soul that develops. And look, I'm using my hands, and you know, I don't know, just looks funny. I'm watching it on the screen, you know, distracting me. But yeah, as if you know the hands really describe anything. I never mind. But I don't remember Doe using his hands, and not
He
that.
did sometimes. You can see it in the Beyond Human, right?
Yeah, he did. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. So it's not like it's taboo, but you know that could be
You wouldn't want to be like, gesturing
right. You
so
could go
much that it's
crazy with it, and
distracting.
people do. You know, right. And then you have to become an entertainer
Mhm.
with your with your handwork,
Mhm.
but
Your handiwork.
your
Ha ha
handiwork.
ha
Yeah, there
ha
you go.
ha.
So but what I'm trying to get back to is that the next level has a laboratories, real laboratories, physical. I don't know if they're made out of nuts and bolts. You know what kind of metals or minerals or what they use. You know, if you go by the Book of Revelation, the New Jerusalem was talked about as coming down from God, uh, the kingdom of God, evolution, what Tiendo called the more accurately the physical, many-membered kingdom level above human, or kingdom uh, evolutionary kingdom level above human. Um, and but where they had spacecrafts. But if you go by the way that's talked about, it's made with minerals, so it glows all these different colors because they're jewels that are go into the making of that. Now that might be symbolic. I mean, because the whole book of Revelation is some huge percentage. Well, maybe not a huge percentage, but a symbolic. Well, using symbology to uh, to give images and 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 those images have a lot to them potentially. And we don't know that all the images are from the next level's mind in terms of whether John was able to actually perceive all the information that he was being given according to the story, which I believe Tiendo felt like was accurate, that there was a student, a former student, that was given uh, that information to share with the members that believed in Jesus and in what Jesus taught, whoever those were, you know, however many there were by the time that information given to what they called the churches, which church just meant gathering of believers. And it wasn't Christian church. It wasn't, the religious development of a hierarchical system where humans are at the top of the hierarchy. But they don't know that many times they're actually the ones they're looking to and calling God uh, is a space alien soul that pays attention to all the individuals that in the human kingdom that come to have a lot of responsibility, and so that they can influence people and influence what the government does, and especially nowadays, but for a long time, technology development is really the ultimate desire, I think, of many of the people in high positions of power and influence over others. Whether it's in Hollywood and they have a lot of influence over people, or whatever it is, or politics, or industry, or corporations, whatever. So the space alien souls on their spacecrafts with their hybridized human equivalent physical bodies that they know that they can direct, because those bodies were grown in their presence. So those bodies only received the teachings that they would give to them as they were growing from combinations of human egg and sperm and whatever other hormones and things that they have available to them on their spacecrafts, which may be very limited, and that would be the reason why they would need humans for. Because when they were disconnected from the next level, they lost availability to technologies that they didn't have anything to do with bringing about. But they got to use the souls I'm talking about in a previous civilization or more. Anyway, but back to the diet subject. That you could, if our bodies were healthy, we could, like T said, we could even eat mud, and we'd probably be okay. And she kept on using the example of McDonald's food, that it's mostly fat, right? It's fat and sugar, basically, it boils down to, because
there's no nutritional content.
There's not any real, right, there's calories, and calories are a value. It's not like we need to have calories, burn fuel. We need a certain amount of sugar, and we definitely need a certain amount of fat, but she was just using that as an example of a less quality of food to eat. Not that you couldn't do it, but you might not want to do it too often. But if you did do it, if the rest of the time between doing it, and I'm not just talking about McDonald's. I'm not bad mouthing McDonald's. I go to McDonald's, as Kathy does,
we eat plenty
once
of
in a while.
McDonald's.
So I don't know if it's more than once every couple of weeks, or sometimes it is more than once a week, because
Yeah, but typically
when we're driving and stuff, and sometimes it's the only place that's open, and it's. But we're not trying to follow a cleansing diet like the Transfiguration diet that I followed to cure the bad case of Lyme's disease that I had. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that right now. But what T was also saying with that communication was that if you were keeping a cap on the negativity, that can be coming to us from various sources, even in our genes. Like if your genes came from a strain of people that had certain problems with certain foods, then those people, those new children and new generations at some point might be very sensitive to certain foods, and and to where we talked about this in another tape, not this one, but and so if you were tested for it, you could be. They would say that you have an allergy to that food, and I have certain allergies to like cherries, fresh cherries and fresh peaches. I get itchy throat, itchy eyes, itchy
Potatoes.
ears. Huh?
Potatoes.
Well, I feel like potatoes, white potatoes. I, it may be related to when they're green,
What
but
did
it
T
feels
and Doe say on this tape?
about potatoes. Yes, they said that it was when it's potatoes. They think it's the eyes of the potatoes, like the brown spots. The when the potatoes are old, they're they're prone to have, for lack of a better term, carcinogens in them.
Cancer causing.
Yeah, cancer causing
Properties.
particles in them. Okay, so, but if the person generally has a somewhat of a healthy diet, which would today's world would have to include some supplementation, I think, to achieve. And I think I don't think that really personally. I mean, I learned it from T and Do, and so now I think it because I learned it, not because I'm repeating what they said, because I experienced it in the group on all different dietary programs, and I saw the effects on my body. And then when I healed myself using those things that I learned from Lyme disease, I learned a whole lot more about the fact that they were right on the button. So if you want to see what I believe would be perhaps the best diet that somebody could go on to try to self cure, uh, I don't know what the limits would be, but certain conditions have been going in certain directions for so long that they may not be able to be reversed that easily, or it may take a long time, or uh, and other additional therapies, and who knows what. But I would suggest a transfiguration diet. It's called to look at that, and it's not something that I wrote. So, but Doe wrote it with the crew, and I was there when when they wrote it, and published it, and I was even trying to sell it for them during my lunch breaks at work from while I was in the group. And but then they sold it to Dr. Christopher, John Christopher's son. I don't know if he's a doctor, but his name is David Christopher, and he runs the School for Natural Healing in Utah, in Salt Lake City. So, but you can go online and you can look for the book, and you can still buy it, I believe. Anyway, but T was talking about how our vehicles. Uh, Maybe Kathy can remember some of the exact words. I can go look at my notes.
Gretchen Wheeler says tea here. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Is Gretchen Wheeler saying that she's tea?
I don't know. Gretchen, you have to say more if you want to. But I hope T's here. I don't know if that's the same person that was claiming to be T before.
That's a different name.
Yeah, we get people that claim to be T, but maybe that's a typo or something. I don't know. But T's not here, and she knew it. She wasn't coming back because she didn't like it here, because she'd outgrown it. And anyway, but and the same with Doe. If either of them come back, which I think Doe might be scheduled to do, he talked about that, not me. in the Beyond Human series, then you would we're not going to see it as like a learning experience because he already did that. The next level doesn't waste their time. They've already put everything into motion that needs to be put into motion so that everybody on the planet can actually choose whether they want to grow to be more good or not. And
Well,
when
whether they want to be on the next levels team or they want to be on the lower forces team, right?
yeah, I'm just bringing it down to good because of the tape that we just listened to, and they were talking about that's like the like a word that
Excuse me.
I mean anybody that like thinks about the things that Jesus did and said, like about anger and about killing and about killing other humans and about how to treat other people and how not to judge them and just to
Yes,
keep your
yes.
yes is all examples of goodness and and so next level members are good and so negativity when we harbor negativity, let's say we have a disagreement with somebody and we feel like they were wrong to you or whatever and you just have negative thoughts about them, and you're surrounding yourself with negativity for the time that you're doing that. And if you're somebody that's in the habit of doing that in a lot of different ways, and you're probably not even aware of, because I know that happens to me, and I don't think I'm that unusual. And then you're actually uh, you're like maintaining like a negative magnetism on your vehicle, and so you will. So then, if you have some genetic propensity towards in your vehicle towards a weakness, nutritional weakness, the cells actually not operating that well in some ways, then that negativity uh, um, adds to that. It can make it into a cancer. And so it's a real good practice to learn to recognize the negative thoughts in our heads and get rid of them. And every time they appear to us, get rid of them. And and practice that because we'll be improving our potential health. Doesn't mean we're gonna live forever necessarily, but unless we end up taking that positivity so far as to actually eventually graduate into membership in the next level, which by the way does not entail suicide. Suicide isn't the ticket; it's uh, the way they chose to exit because they were done with their task of learning on Earth, while those who remain can benefit tremendous amount from keeping their human vehicles if their vehicles can function um, and grow and change, and that's hard. Change is difficult. Imagine you can see the examples of how hard it is to change when we saw this event that happened with the individual with the name. Uh,
Just say the name.
no, they're gonna end up searching for that and get rid of my videos.
Really? The
Maybe,
name?
maybe.
That's insane. They'd
I
have
don't
to
know.
be removing
They've,
millions of videos then, just
well,
based off that specific
well, you got
name.
a point there. So maybe I'm going to an extreme
I
with that.
think you are.
Okay, okay. Are you sure?
Yes, your other one has his name in the subject, so
I'm
it's
only
not.
joking. I'm only joking, but
That's your sarcasm coming through.
No, I don't think so. Well, saying, "Are you sure?"
Hmm.
Well, yeah, because we just listened to the tape where Doe said one of the things that uh, is a quality of a member of the next level. Not that we're necessarily examples of that,
No, God, no.
but but if, but we do recognize, I think, the goodness in it is to not think that certain things that like you may think you saw something a certain way,
Yeah.
but and but you may be wrong,
Yeah. That's right.
because in this environment there's a lot of evidence that none of us, I mean, you can take this to extremes, and Doe was talking about that because he was talking about how the next level has monitors. They didn't actually talk about that in specific in this tape because they've talked about it in other tapes. But in other words, there's crew members on next level spacecrafts that are watching those that have caught their attention. And the members of Tiando's group caught their attention. And as long as they continue to catch their attention, the next level helps them. Uh, and so, and then it becomes a choice of each person to accept that help or not, or to some degree accept the help, or not, and when, of course. But uh, but anyway, uh, so anyway, I don't need to go past that anymore, but because I'll beat a dead horse with it. But I just like there's certain words that I can't use that I used to think I could use.
But a lot of your videos have been getting deleted by YouTube.
I know. That's why I don't use those words anymore. And I don't talk about those subjects directly. I use keywords
Yeah.
to describe them. And so, um, but anyway, so what I was going to say was that with Trump, okay, so I used the word, um, some people hear that word and they have a program that says that that's evil, or that's the devil, or that's
Or the exact opposite.
a Stalin or a Hitler or huh?
Or they have the exact opposite.
Or they
That's
think it's a Jesus even.
right.
Right. They have both extremes sometimes are out there. In the that is in the world there's all kinds of extremes going on at the same time. But then so you have people that are saying coming up with their theories and the things, and those all become the mishmash of conspiracy thinking, and which I don't doubt that there's conspiracies. I know there's conspiracies. It's not like a taboo subject for me. But I don't automatically. Uh, well, I believe I do have a little bit of a handle. Not that I can't be fooled on what could be some of the extremes to, because what happens is we look at an event, okay, and we see like the event that just happened in Pennsylvania, and uh, uh, and and you see things that are happening, and you say that doesn't make sense. Why would that happen like that? Why would that roof be unprotected? You know, uh, it doesn't make sense because we know those people that are doing those jobs are pretty damn good at their jobs, and they have patterns that they've gone to school to learn how to do and all that. So it right away tells you that something's not right here, or for some reason they were blocked from recognizing. Now, that could even happen, I think, by influences. And the space aliens may be able to do that in technical ways that I don't know. I haven't heard Tiendo talk about that exactly, but so I don't I don't think that that's something to consider. Although well, no, they have, because they said that they bombard humans with thoughts. So can you imagine, let's say a human wanted to do what humans do, like what they did in the Gulf War. I think was the first part of that, where they were bombarding the Iraqis, I guess, with sounds, music or tones or I don't know what it was. I forgot what it was, but it was like really loud uh, blasting, you know, to uh, to kind of wear people down. I don't know if it worked or not,
I
but
think it does work.
yeah, I've heard that it does work as well, and I think they do that to people in jail sometimes. I think to disorient them and
Yeah.
like you know, it's part of the drive them insane, because you can't if you can't shut it out, if you can't block it. Anyway, so that's an example to me of something humans can do. That if humans can do it, the space aliens knew about it, at least, I think, because I think they were coming up and becoming members of the next level during the same kind of process that we're going through, except there weren't necessarily the same strength of lower forces as there was for us now, because uh, um, well, I don't want to get into that anymore because I'd be guessing too much. So, uh, but anyway, so we don't know what happened. Why? It doesn't have to be a conspiracy, or it can be a conspiracy that the space aliens are involved in, or it can be something else that somebody could think of, a jamming device or something. I don't know what, but uh, uh, in any case, the thing is that you see it and you think there's something unusual happening here, but then you get people that will come up with ideas, and it would say them on the radio even, and then all the people that are hearing that, they want to hear something that goes along with what they believe. Doe said that also, that everybody's going to get what they believe, and he was referring to people uh, thereafter when he said it in 1993 in the USA Today document that was put in USA Today for a third of a page for one day in International and the National Edition on May 27th, 1993. And he said that everybody gets what they believe. So even the humans that lose their vehicles, however that happens, that's an acceleration into being sorted into whatever holding pattern next level might have for those individuals, those spirits, or souls, which would probably be in a different place. But in any case, the ones that they want to keep safe from the recycling, and the next level has their criteria for that. And then the rest would be chaff, as it says in Revelation 14. It talks about the wheat and the wheat berries as the harvest, and the chaff as the stems and the root system and all that. They use those analogies because those analogies actually work, even though it's symbolic in terms of the plant kingdom. But it does show you how the next level was always thinking about humans as a type of plant that just doesn't have a root system that uh, um, we can see that ties us to other plants, but exists nonetheless. So I don't know if I completed a little thought there or not. Not a little thought. Maybe it's a little thought, but it took me a long time to try to get to it with all the side steps that I take. But that's the way I roll, you know, so I don't know how else to do it.
What's going on in the chat?
Oh, that's what I'm looking at now. Cinematic says hello, Sawyer. It says, I wanted to let you know I got into Oxford. Oh, wow. I was a watcher of your stream a couple of years ago, but been busy, so hope to return. Okay, nice. You know, I guess, uh, I've heard about Oxford. Maybe you're going to become a lawyer. Maybe you can fix some things. Or, I'm not sure what you're looking towards. Good luck with it. Death Rune says, thank you. Thank the next level. Caught your streams again. Really dig the caravan life and getting away from bullies. And it says, how can I feel empowered when my neighbor has been abusive to me? Yeah, well, I don't know that I can solve problems like that because, I don't have some crystal ball and I don't know how to, psychoanalyze people. And yeah, I know there's people, I'm actually trying to think about what Doe might say. And I did have the thought that, uh, well, certainly not um, give in to the abuses. I don't know what it is, and I don't really want to know the details. But because I do know people that have had, I've had situations too where there was somebody that I didn't really want to be around, and so I would just avoid them. And if I couldn't talk to them, and and stop it and try to solve some problems by maybe finding out why they were being abusive to me. But then again, sometimes you might not want to say anything. I don't know. It's complicated. But I know that Tiendo, like, let's say, I do have some examples that may apply, and like one of them was when I was at a job while I was in the classroom. I was at a job in the world, and it was a sign company in Dallas, and the boss was in one office, and his wife was in the office on the other side of the office, and in the middle of the office was me because I was a receptionist and a telephone operator and a computer operator, and so I did the filing, and I did most of the for the company, okay, but and they would get into yelling matches, between them, and told T and O about it, I think, and they said, "Can you ignore it?" And and I could. It wasn't that bad. But then sometimes I would go into the office, and my boss would be trying to explain something to me, and then he would be insulting to me. I'm not necessarily fast on picking up on things sometimes, maybe a lot of times. But I do work at it until I get the picture. And so people, when they see my questions or they see a blank look, if I'm not explaining myself or I'm processing it. So he would tap me on the head. He did it a couple times, I think, and say, "Is anything in there? Anything going on in there?" Because I guess I wasn't responding soon enough, and so that should have been my lesson to learn. Uh, but and then another time I was being Tiendo told me that maybe I could talk to my boss, and express that uh, I have a tendency to maybe not be that fast at comprehending things sometimes. And but I would not go to that person with like a chip on my shoulder that they were in the wrong and I was in the right, and that I wasn't gonna, find a middle ground, try to find a middle ground of some sort, so you don't have to deal with it. But if then you do have to deal with abuses, then another thing to consider is getting some help from somebody in society, and or I guess it could be that if you can, you might even want to move to someplace else. I know that sounds like a poor choice because it's not that easy to do that, but I don't know what else to say, so I just don't know how to offer you any more from T and O, because T and O would have us change jobs if we were having some problem. Uh, they didn't want any distractions like that because that can be, that can just stimulate negativity to deal with.
Coming up on 9:30.
Oh yeah, I can't do a very long stream this time because I have to sleep and work in the morning. Uh, so uh, so Gardner Earth guy says, I saw the eclipse in Indianapolis, and I'm not convinced that it's the moon doing that. Yeah, well, I don't know how to. I saw the eclipse, and I didn't have any indications that it wasn't the moon. Uh, so I don't know what you're experiencing in that regard. And then Old School Dave says, good one, Miss Kathy. And
Mm.
and then CPE Plilinski says, "Hi Sawyer, like watching your videos. Same time watching with same number of this Bible verse. Oh, you caught me. I didn't put new verses up there. Yeah, uh, I don't put a lot of preparation into these. I mean, in some ways I wish I would, but I frequently don't have the energy to
Well,
try
by the
to.
time you prep so much, then you don't even want to do the stream anymore.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
sometimes I
it's like
prep so
takes so
much.
much energy.
And see, the last stream I was cut off, and I had those verses on there, and I did talk about them a little bit. But I didn't remember if I talked about them during that hour that I was, or that time period, whatever it was, that I thought I was streaming, but I wasn't. So I thought today maybe I would go through that a little bit more in relationship to. Well, I'll take a minute to do it because um, there's this verse that is is 13:3 on Revelation 13:3, and it says, "I saw one of his heads was wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast." Okay, well, I don't believe that's Trump. However, I do believe that was what happened in New York City and Washington D.C. and Pennsylvania uh, in the beginning of the millennium, the new millennium. And I've had videos deleted because of my opinions about that event, and that's why I'm not going to be more specific. But I believe that was the head was one of the seven heads of what's described as the poisonous mammal organization uh, is, I believe, government. Not government talking about all the bureaucratic people and, not the individual people, but the people that are most running the mechanism, the show. They're all part of that. And everybody that believes in them as their, you know, they're going to even, that becomes their, whatever you want to call it, their, in a sense, their God, maybe, or their instrument of God, if they think about it that way, or whatever, however they think about the government, or the individual members in it. Um, that's I can't, there's no judgment that we humans can have on anybody else, whether they're in government or not. We can judge behavior. I keep on saying that. Like what's not goodness, and we don't want to be around people that are not. I don't want to be around people that do bad things to people, or say bad things, or lie, or manipulate, or calculate how to sacrifice some people for the so-called good and betterment of others. But the space aliens are very much in terms of willing to sacrifice, and that's so. So the beast is is given power by the dragon, and the dragon is the Luciferian. Lucifer, actually, in particular, the is actually referred to as the dragon in Revelation, and so that individual has their agenda of trying to get off the planet before it is recycled by the next level. So,
You wrapping up, babe?
yeah, and the deadly wound was healed because all the world looks at that event, and it's just a part of history, and just comes up every year where people talk about it, and they keep the talk down so that there's not too much talk about all the problems with the way that was done and described and ruled on by the government, the higher ups, and the fact that the U.S. came back from that, in a sense, and went on to do more events, like in 2008 with the financial crisis, and then in 2019-20 with with disease and everything they did with that, and then and all kinds of things in between. Anyway, and so is it slow again?
No, I don't know why all my stuff, I've been signed out of everything.
Oh, really? Huh. And so, I sometimes want to go through these verses. And I guess I just did. So I'll just go that far because, uh, but I'll go to the next one and I'll just end it there because then I'll be going further in Revelation 13. And it says, and they worshipped the dragon, which gave power to the beast, and they worshipped the beast. Now, Doe said that the word worship meant to work for. And, there's all kinds of ways of looking at this, even in relationship with the 666 and all that stuff that's been beat to death. And so I really don't like talking about it much because of how it's been beat to death. And it's been beat to death a lot of times by diluted, distorted uh, um, interpretations that aren't nearly as accurate as one can, I believe, be when they put it together with Tiando's teachings, because they weren't teaching out of the Bible or the Revelations, even though they referred to things in those materials, because those materials got their origin from the next level's interface in previous millennium. Anyway, so I won't go any further with that because I do need to bring this to a close. So I'll go to the chat quickly, and hopefully there won't be anything there. I shouldn't say that, but yeah, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood until the flesh and blood are trying to wrestle us. But what Paul was talking about was that it's true that our enemies are the space aliens, the thoughts, the mind, the information, the misinformation, the deceit, the manipulation, which the space aliens are flooding the environment with. But see, we don't know how to recognize. Like if we didn't have them, those said in tape 201, if we didn't have that negativity and all that deceit and stuff to see, then we would be become robots of goodness. So that we would be probably never very nice people to be around because we wouldn't do anything to hurt anybody else. But we wouldn't be growing our minds because it's dealing with the negativity and sifting through it that Tiando's teachings help a lot with learning to do, I believe. And I have a lot of evidence of that. It's not from experience. So anyway, I'm going to move on. Let's see. Evil in heavenly places. Yeah, well, that's right. That's what. Oh, you're putting the rest of that paragraph in there, right? Right, and Doe talked about that. If you read the USA Today, you'll see that there's another number of heavens. Because the word heaven really means elevated areas above the earth, and it's a physical definition, but it also, the kingdom of heaven refers to the actual members of the next level that are in that physical reality of the spheres and the sun and the moon and all the universe, this galaxy and all the galaxies potentially, but we don't know what all is happening except for our little tiny. We don't even know much about that, what we're doing here. But Tiando, their teachings are head and shoulders above everybody else, but their teachings are available to everybody now, not just through the airwaves. That's why you see, I can't tell you how many times recently in the last 4 days I saw somebody using the term next level, where I would see it once in a while over the years, and I do follow a lot of different podcasts and articles and things. Not as much as I used to, but it just seems like it's bursting out all over now, and that's and the use of the word accelerate. I was talking about it the other day because I've been talking about it for years, that Tiando talked about that this is an accelerated period while they're here, and now it's also being accelerated to we have more, our choices are being, we have to look at more things, and confusion is a big part of what's happening now, to where we don't know what's real and what's not real a lot of times, and then so because we're told so many things that are just manipulation tools. I'm looking to do AI there, so technology related. I want to help the cause of Heaven's Gate, perhaps look into spacecrafts, etc. That's what cinematic studying. Okay. This is Oxford for my master's, by the way. Okay. That's all good, guys. Thanks for the stream, and I hope to join you again regularly. Just been busy with life. Yeah, have a good time. Thanks for coming in. Jeff says, I just went to an arcade called Next Level this past weekend. Yeah, right.
Over now.
Yep. And then Avatar says, oh, hi. Ohio. So, yeah, folks. I wish I could do more, but I started it too late. And I'll try to do more, though, if Kathy helps me motivate me.
Yeah.
She does. Good night, folks.